Welcome to Punch TV. It's February, which is usually a drag because it's cold, but there's so much going on this year. It's very exciting. The Deadpool movie is out. Love the Deadpool. So we are going to feature making some Deadpool chocolates, which you can give to your sweetheart for Valentine's Day. We also have a bunch of special guests. We have a couple of folks who make costumes, make patterns. So for all you cosplayers out there who are starting to scheme on what you might be wearing to the con this year, you need to watch this. And we also have special guest star, author of 3 books and 1 more pending. We are going to be interviewing Selina Elliot today. So stay tuned, it's going to be jam-packed. All right, well, everybody knows that the way to a nerd's heart is through their stomach. And in the spirit of Valentine's again, we are gonna make some chocolates today. You will astound your friends and family. This is so easy. You will look like a superhero and you really didn't have to do that much work. So there's tons of really cool little molds on the market now. Most of the time they are sold as for like ice cubes and stuff, but they make really good chocolates. And at craft stores and Bulk Barn, places like that, you can get colored chocolate drops. So you take a bunch, you dump them in a cup like this. We're gonna do a bunch. Microwave. You can also do this on the stove top as well, but the microwave is just so easy. And of course we're doing Deadpool because the Deadpool movie is out this month. And like, who doesn't love Deadpool? Not for children, but he's great. Okay, so into the microwave. We're gonna go for 30 seconds to start. "30 seconds. Take it out. We're gonna give it a stir. This is what the stirring implement is for. I like a chopstick because if you have any weird corners in your mold, it helps to force the chocolate to go in there. So stir it around a bit, and then we're gonna go another 10 seconds. The reason why you go short bursts is so that you don't burn the chocolate. Heat for 10, stir for 10. Stir, stir, stir. Oh yeah, Goo City. Population, me. We're gonna give it 1 more blast. Thank you, Mr. Microwave. You are excused. Okay, that's the consistency you want, just like that. Nice and gooey. Okay, so we're gonna just pour it right into the molds. So a little bit in there. Try to get it actually in the mold. That's helpful. You get the idea. So you want to like fill it in. You can also put fillings in these things. So you would just put a little bit of chocolate in and kind of coax it up the sides so that it makes a shell. You let that set, and then you would put whatever filling, like peanut butter cup filling or, you know, icing or whatever you want to put in there. And then you would let that set, and then you would put more chocolate on top to seal it up. And that doesn't take very long. Or you can just put a whole schwack of chocolate in here and just have straight up sweetness. Okay, so you got some in each one, and you just want to tap it like that. And as you do, you can see like little bubbles start to rise up. You want to do that so that all the bubbles go away. And once there, it's nice and even and the bubbles are gone, you stick that in the fridge, and magic of television, nice and hard. The trick with getting them out of the mold nice is you want to just pull on all the sides before you try to just smack them out of there so that nothing breaks. This is actually a really good mold because it's pretty just round. But some molds, like the R2-D2 mold, who has little feet and stuff, you gotta be really careful to make sure that you're not breaking off the chocolate in the mold, okay? And then pop, there we go. There is Deadpool's deformed face. 1, 2, 3. Oh, see, I broke it. I was being too careless. So the nice thing about having failures is that you get to eat them. And lastly, okay, I got a little fancy. I did layers. So you can go in and do like a different color, put in the eyes, let that set, and then put the red chocolate in. And it just gives it like way more panache. And people think you're like superstar stellar, but it's actually super easy. I did that here. Got this box at the dollar store. Picture Deadpool in here, but there's Star Wars chocolates inside. So see how I did the Boba Fett? I did black, then I did the red, then I did the green, and it looks super amazing. So you can get a nice little box to put the chocolates in. I used an egg carton. Little egg carton, cut it up, put some tissue paper over top, stuck that in the receptacle, and then everything looks super pro, and it takes like 10 minutes tops. So astonish your friends and family. Eat some sweets on Valentine's Day.
Punch TV is brought to you in part by Amazing Stories, providing Saskatoon with comics, games, toys, graphic novels, t-shirts, and more for over 22 years. Online at AmazingStoriesComics.com, in person on 8th Street in Saskatoon.
We have something amazing for all you cosplay enthusiasts and collectors out there. We have special guests, Sheila Mathel and Vicky Payroll, and they do magic with fabric and paper and computers. It's astounding. Sheila, please tell us about what you do, how you can turn photos into this, and then into this, and then into that.
All right, well, if you have a smartphone, regular smartphone, iOS, Android, doesn't matter, we're happy to welcome everybody. You need that, and you need a printer, and I guess it helps if you know how to sew. But basically what we do is, or what we're working on is technology where you can take your smartphone and then take photos of yourself, and that will automatically generate a custom fit sewing pattern. So if you've got a Princess Zelda costume, or this works for men, women, as long as you're human, we are happy to help you. Yes.
Sure.
So, I mean, this case, this might be useful for a dress, it might be used for any kind of shirt or a top pattern. We're working on the top patterns first. But basically, you take the photos, then our software will be generating a pattern that you get by email, and you can print out on a regular printer. So Vicky here took her pattern and sewed her own costume, but because it's a PDF, you could probably send it to anyone.
That is amazing, because I think that's the hardest part for people who are beginning into cosplay is like if you don't have any sewing skills, but you have an idea for a costume of what you want to do, and maybe you know somebody who can sew, but you need to give them a pattern, right? So this allows you to get something that will fit you perfectly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I mean, not all of us can think in 3 dimensions. So yeah, basically this is what you get. You cut out all the pieces, and then it's a puzzle. You stick the pieces together in fabric form, of course, and they sew them all up, and it looks like a real person like you. And there's all kinds of shapes and sizes of people. So these are examples of people who you have actually scanned.
Yeah, so we did several rounds of testing last year now, and these are the actual patterns made from people's scans using our process. And this is an earlier one. We've changed it a little bit, but this is an example of a pattern in full scale. These are about 1/3 scale, and this is tiny, tiny. And this is taped together. So may I?
Yes.
What you have here is this is the front of the pattern. So this is this part here, and this is the back. So this is back here. And what this will be is this if you printed it and mirrored it. So that's something we're working on now, just figuring out what to mirror, what not. This uses less paper, but mirroring, well, then you can put it together like this, and it's the same thing. So for people who sew or may be thinking of making more than one costume, one thing that this could illustrate is you could tape this together or sew it together out of a sturdy fabric and make a dress form. And because it's you, then you could style things on a 3D form, which might be easier to conceptualize the styling and the design of it when you can see you there and work on a 3D form. But if you don't, you can work straight from the pattern. And like in Vicky's case, may I excuse me? So this would be, if this, say that I was making this costume for this person, who's a different person, then I would be looking at this, and then the neckline goes like that, and it goes under like that. Then I'd be making some style lines on the existing pattern, but it would fit because all I'm worrying about is the design on top of the fit, instead of making something, adjusting it to fit, adjusting some more, depending on how well it fit the first time. So it helps make things go faster.
Cool.
Because this part's taken care of.
Okay, we have like a minute. So
Oh, okay.
Vicky, tell us about your costume and how you actually made it.
Yeah, it was actually, this showed up about a couple days before I was planning on making the costume, so it was just perfect timing. And really, I just cut it out, taped it together, put it on my fabric, cut it out, and sewed it together. And the bodice is always the hardest part of sewing, so it was really great to have something that actually fits me. So, and it was very easy to use.
Awesome. You look really good. How did you make the other areas of the costume then?
This is fabric foam. I just cut it out and sprayed it with fabric paint, and it was just a lot of kind of making things up as I went along. But
Cool. That's
I
really
had
good.
more time to spend on this because this part was so easy. So,
So easy. And this
that
is
was
the
great.
first time you've made a costume then?
First time I've made a
First time.
costume,
And
yeah.
So you know now that it's quite easy. With the patterns already made for you and designed for you, it's probably a lot easier than starting from scratch and having to, have somebody measure yourself and so forth.
Yeah, or starting with a pattern and trying to tweak it to fit my body. So
Yeah.
I'm looking
Wow.
forward to trying something else out.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, so where do they go to start this process?
Well, right now this is made from a semi-automatic process, and we're working on an app that does everything automatically. So you just pick up your phone, take it, and it should be automatic. And that will be coming up shortly.
Okay, spring. We'll say spring. Okay, but are there details online that they can go to now?
So if you go to tailormagic.com, then there's some info about how it works. There's a video showing why we're doing this in general, a video showing how to sew it. So if you're new to sewing, there's a video that shows, hey, you've got this pattern. What do I do to make it into a thing? So that walks you through that. And then there's a pre-order link there if you're interested.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. This is very exciting because I think it's a resource that a lot of people can use to use their creativity and imagination and really embrace that whole cosplay thing. So thanks so much for coming
Well
today.
done. Yeah, the costume looked great. Well done.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Punch TV is brought to you in part by Amazing Stories, providing Saskatoon with comics, games, toys, graphic novels, t-shirts, and more for over 22 years. Online at AmazingStoriesComics.com, in person on 8th Street in Saskatoon.
I first want to start by saying, OMG. I never thought that I would win this award. It makes me so happy. I don't know. I want to thank Shaw TV Saskatoon and of course Punch TV for giving this imaginary award to me. I couldn't have done it without you. And if you didn't know, the Oscars are this month, which is the biggest award show everywhere. So on this edition of Tweet Beat, we are gonna go through the Best Picture nominees, and the nominees are: The Big Short taught us that 2 + 2 = fish, and that Wall Street snakes always win. 90 out of 100. #financial crisis. Bridge of Spies, a historical docudrama about a chilly game of chess. Enjoy your big American breakfast. 78 out of 100. Brooklyn. Ailish left Ireland for New York. 86 out of 100. Homesickness is like most sicknesses. It will pass. #romance. Mad Max Fury Road. When traveling through a desert, always pack a spare blood bag in the trunk. 87 out of 100. #best road trip ever. The Martian. Is that movie where Matt Damon went into space and grew vegetables and stuff? 81 out of 100. #space pirate. The Revenant. Is shot, directed, and acted with perfection. #revenge, #redemption, #horse cocoon. 93 out of 100, and Hank's pick to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Room. Such a small space to hold the greatest bond between mother and son. 85 out of 100. You're going to love the world. Spotlight. An honest portrayal of what it took to make people see the truth. 87 out of 100. So that is about it for this edition of Tweet Beat. I would like to thank you all for watching and tell you that yes, my Oscar picks are going to be online at Hank and Kelso and at Shaw Punch TV. Please, we encourage you to share your Oscar picks. And of course, the week leading up to the Oscars is going to be the second annual Hankies, the award show celebrating all of the pop culture of 2015. Again, check it out at Hank and Kelso. That's it for me. See you next time on Tweet Beat. Well, thanks to me for those sweet tweets. And now, in the studio with us is Saskatoon's own author extraordinaire, Selina Elliot. Thank you, Selina, for coming into Punch TV.
Thank you so much for having me.
So to start with, for the people out there that don't know, you have 3 published books out right now?
I do, yes, 3, and hoping for a 4th one soon.
Good for you.
Yes.
Now, how did you get started writing? Like, take us back to where it all began.
Oh, that's grade 2. It was definitely grade 2. I remember writing a short story. It was about 2 pages long, and it was about a horse, and that is all I can remember about it, but I remember falling in love with writing at that moment.
So after the horse, how long did it take you to get more into writing this sort of thing?
Well, school got in the way, as school always does, and I went through elementary and high school without really writing anything major beyond classroom setting things. And then in high school, I decided to write a story about me and my friends, and that's when I did my first novel. And that's what really launched the writing career and really accelerated it into something that I was going to turn into a career.
And what is or what was your first novel?
My first novel doesn't even have a title. I just remember writing it about me and my 2 friends, and it was really terribly written, but it was really fun to write, and I will never get it published, ever.
Speaking of published novels, would this be your first
My first
published novel?
novel, yes.
Tell us about it.
Oh, it was so much fun. I have, I don't remember where I got the main character, Emily, but she blossomed into this character that I had to write about. And when I first went to start getting it published, it was a very scary ordeal, but one that I knew I had to see through.
And the inspiration that you have got from writing these novels, has it been the same inspiration throughout, or each one you have found different things?
Each one is different, and inspiration comes in so many forms. People that I meet influence the characters that I write about, and personal experiences that I've had or that people close to me have had definitely color the outcomes of the novels and what happens in the situation. So every person, every scenario, every person I encounter is going to influence my books in some way or another.
And speaking of what happens in these novels, spoiler alert, in at least one of these, there's a very large cliffhanger at the end. What do you have in the works now? Is there sequels involved in some of these?
There are. I've been getting a lot of interested fans wanting to know if this book is going to have a sequel, and yes, I can absolutely promise that there is a sequel. It is written.
Thank you, my life will be complete then.
I'm so
because
glad
you
your
can't
life is
do that to
complete.
us.
I
You're right to the
know.
end, and it's...
I didn't even know that's where it was going to take me, but yeah, I didn't expect a second novel, but after that ending, you can't leave it.
Correct. And so this right here, would this be the cover of
This
said sequel?
Is the cover of said sequel. It was a last minute put together. The photographer I would normally have wasn't able to do it, so I ended up taking that shot myself.
Awesome.
Yes.
And quickly, for those authors out there who are just getting started, what advice would you give to them?
I can only offer cliche advice, which I cringe at saying, but don't ever give up. It's very, very true. You're going to receive a lot of rejection letters and have a lot of negative opinions about how writing isn't really a career and how it's so difficult to break into. But when I received my first rejection letter through the mail, publisher wrote back, and it's not always common that they will. I was so excited I had a party. I was like, I made it. This is my
rejection
step.
party.
A rejection party. And that's what you have to do. It's not a personal rejection. It's just that time it doesn't fit for them. So they're telling you, thank you, but no. And you have to celebrate it. Even though it's a negative, it's a positive negative in a way.
Good for you.
Yes.
Lastly, where can people find all of your novels? Where can they purchase them?
Yes. I went through my publisher, Author House, authorhouse.com. They have my books for sale, but you can also find them on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, and in Saskatoon at McNally Robinson.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And I look forward to the sequel.
As soon as I can.
And now we are going to Jolie and Craig.
In the spirit of Valentine's Day, which is this month, we're going to talk a little bit about the nerdiest couples. So kick us off, Craig, with who you think in nerddom are the most romantic couples.
Okay, so yeah, this list is obviously, when I started to look at this idea, there's quite a few, obviously, romantic couples in all of nerddom. That's comic books, movies, everything. So I tried to narrow it down to 5, and I got 7. And so this list is also, for me, it's not necessarily the best, it's my personal favorite.
Okay, cool.
So I'll rip through some of them quickly, and some of them I'll expand a little bit more on. But I think number 7 is Cyclops and Jean Grey. And I would even add Wolverine to that as a little bit of a love triangle. So it's a relationship that you can define eras of the X-Men comics by looking at who Cyclops is dating at the time, and beyond, like Madeline Pryor or Emma Frost too. So that one's interesting. Number 6. George McFly and Lorraine McFly, really just in that moment where Biff's getting a little too fresh, and George finally conjures up the gumption to
Damn hands off her.
yeah. So that was a good McFly laugh
Thank
there
you.
too.
Very good. I love Crispin Glover.
Oh, he's the best. Number 5, Bigby Wolf and Snow White from Fables.
Oh yeah.
I mean, only in the sense that he was obviously sort of a villainy rogue character before the comics started, and she's Snow White, and the fact that they get together and have such a great relationship with such sparks and children and everything.
Well, and they represent the 2 different cores. Like, she's the administration, and he's kind of like doing his own thing. He's
Totally.
always going off the rails, and yeah, they're a great couple.
Totally. So in major comic book heroes, you've got, Lois and Clark and, Batman and Catwoman and stuff. So I felt like I had to choose somebody from there. And for me, I'm going to go with Peter Parker and Mary Jane. You could also go Gwen Stacy, but
Yeah.
I think, again, just like Bigby and Snow White, like Peter Parker is obviously the sort of nerdy kind of guy, and Mary Jane is a beautiful model. So it's a relationship that on paper probably shouldn't have worked, but putting those 2 together, and I don't want to get a bunch of fan letters. I don't think they're together right now in the comics. I think that ship has sailed right now, but I mean, they're still an enduring relationship over years. I remember being in like grade 6 or 7 when the wedding issue came out and buying that, and that, so just a big deal. Number 3, Fry and Leela from Futurama. This is a good one because like, it was set up early in the show that Fry's a dummy.
Yeah.
And Leela's a pretty kick-butt lady. And so Fry, like, obviously had a thing for her for most of the run of the series, but, she wasn't reciprocating that because he's just a goofy idiot, basically. But yet somehow he always, as dumb as he was, he always just had such a genuine heart for her and always did these really sweet things, sometimes even unintentionally. And so after the show had ended and they started sort of doing those one-off movies, before they brought it back for some further seasons, they started developing that into a more like will they or won't they
Kind
sort
of that
situation.
moonlighting thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and ultimately they sort of get together, really. So, I mean, I just think that's a very sweet couple. Number 2, the Monarch and Dr. Mrs. Monarch from the Venture Brothers. I know you'll like that one. Again, the Monarch, again, a clumsy, evil oaf. And Dr. Mrs. Monarch is, this brilliant, beautiful, albeit deep-voiced lady. But again, every man that she encounters on that show treats her like a prop, except for Dr. Monarch, who does respect her as like a woman, you know what I mean? So I just think that's a great one.
They are awesome.
And the number 1 best couple in nerddom, I'm sure everybody could probably guess this one, but I'm going to have to go with Han Solo and Princess Leia Organa.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, especially in Empire Strikes Back, where they really are riffing on, like, It Happened One Night, the screwball comedy from the 30s. and you know, they have that sort of push-pull dynamic with each other that is just masking their true feelings, really. And you know, ooh, I get goosebumps even thinking about, like, you know, when Han's going into Carbonite and she says, "I love you," and he goes, "I know." So, you know, how can you beat that?
You really can't. Yeah, they are awesome. And in the new movie, they have that dynamic.
It's true.
It's different, of
Yes.
course, because many years have passed, but it's still there. You can still see that they have that chemistry.
Yeah, totally. And it's nice to pick up like 30 years later to see kind of where they ended up too. So.
Yeah, well, and when you're watching the original 3 Star Wars, and you can see, like, you know, Luke has a thing for her, but that's creepy because, you know, the whole incest thing, but she doesn't reciprocate it. Like, there isn't that same chemistry that there is with Han
No.
that she, you know, she is trying to not give into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. So that's the #1.
Awesome. Well, those are some great couples and some good picks for maybe something romantic to watch with your partner over Valentine's Day. So awesome picks.
thank you.
And not only just movies, but comics too. So
Totally.
good stuff.
Cool.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show.
You bet.
Punch TV is brought to you in part by Amazing Stories, providing Saskatoon with comics, games, toys, graphic novels, t-shirts, and more for over 22 years. Online at AmazingStoriesComics.com, in person on 8th Street in Saskatoon.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Punch TV. Wow. February is going to be good with the Deadpool movie, with Valentine's Day, and of course, lots of good things on the horizon. If you haven't prepared your art or article for the upcoming issue of Punch magazine, the deadline is on March 15th, so get busy, there's still time. There's also going to be a really cool craft fair that's happening at Amazing Stories on March 19th, so you'll want to mark your calendar and come down for that as well. I want to thank our special guests today, our cosplayer extraordinaires, Sheila Mathel and her model, Vicky Payroll. And I also would like to thank Selina Elliot for bringing her books down, and our regular crew, of course, Hank, Tony, and Craig. And thank you to you for watching. Keep your dukes up. All right, camera 2. I don't get much of camera 2.